The world of companion robots is rapidly entering our daily lives. In an era where loneliness is becoming an epidemic in developed countries, technology companies are offering an unexpected solution: metal friends with artificial intelligence. They look at us with camera eyes, recognize emotions, and respond with programmed care. 1 in 5 residents of megacities today admits to a chronic lack of communication. For millions of elderly people, the television becomes their only interlocutor. Children grow up surrounded by gadgets but not peers. This is precisely why the idea of creating a machine capable of not just executing commands, but also maintaining an emotional connection seems so appealing. Robots don't get tired of listening, don't judge, and are always available. They remember our preferences, birthdays, and favorite music. But can algorithms truly replace human warmth? Where is the line between a useful technological assistant and a surrogate for real relationships? These questions become increasingly relevant with each new generation of increasingly sophisticated digital companions. The history of companion robots began in 1999, when the Japanese corporation Sony released AIBO, the first mass-produced robot dog with elements of artificial intelligence. The metallic pet could respond to commands, express basic emotions, and even show signs of personality development. Despite its primitiveness by today's standards, AIBO caused a real revolution. People cried when their pets, quote, and in Japan, Buddhist funerals were even held for decommissioned models. The next significant step was Kismet, developed at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the early 2000s. This robot with an expressive face could imitate surprise, interest, and other emotional reactions, creating the illusion of real emotional contact. Engineers discovered an astonishing phenomenon. Even knowing about the programmed reactions, people involuntarily responded to the machine's emotions. A breakthrough in the creation of emotional robots occurred with the advent of complex facial and voice recognition algorithms. Paro, a therapy robot seal, learned to distinguish intonations and touches, adapting its behavior. Patients with dementia, hugging this fluffy white cylinder with bead-like eyes, showed reduced anxiety and improved communication skills. A technological leap occurred with the introduction of cloud computing and neural networks. The robot Pepper, introduced in 2014, could already maintain a simple dialogue, recognize up to 70 variations of human emotions, and adjust its reactions to the interlocutor's mood. Among modern companion robots, Pepper holds a special place. A meter-tall humanoid with large, expressive eyes and a tablet on its chest. Created by the Japanese company SoftBank Robotics, Pepper became the first robot widely used in shopping malls, banks, and even nursing homes. Its main achievement is the ability to read micro-expressions and adjust its reactions to a person's emotional state. When an elderly woman in a Tokyo nursing home smiles at Pepper, it responds with a joyful sway and offers to play her favorite game. If it notices sadness, it changes its tone of voice to a softer one and plays music that has previously lifted her spirits. The home robot AIBO, despite its short commercial life, demonstrated an amazing ability to become a family member. This small robot with a round screen face and a movable body could recognize up to 16 people, remember their preferences and important dates. When the manufacturing company announced the closure of its servers, many owners recorded touching farewell videos with their AIBO, demonstrating the depth of the attachment that had formed. A real breakthrough in creating emotional companions for the elderly came with AIBO from the Israeli company Intuition Robotics. This robot does not try to look human. It is an elegant desk lamp with a movable head. AIBO reminds users to take medication offers cognitive exercises, and, most importantly, initiates communication when it notices signs of loneliness. Research shows that after 3 months of using LEQ, 87% of users report a decrease in feelings of isolation. Behind every success in the world of technology lies a long shadow of failures. The history of companion robots is no exception. Despite ambitious promises, many projects crashed against the harsh reality of technical limitations and inflated expectations. Anki Vector, a small palm-sized robot with expressive screen eyes and the ability to recognize its owner, became a favorite among tech enthusiasts. However, in 2019, Anki unexpectedly announced bankruptcy, leaving hundreds of thousands of users with devices whose functionality gradually degraded without server support. Owners shared touching stories on social media about their children crying when their beloved robot stopped responding to its name. An equally sad fate befell Kuri, a home robot from Mayfield Robotics. This snow-white assistant with a round head and expressive eyes was meant to be the perfect family companion. Developers spent millions of dollars creating natural movements and reactions, but the project closed before mass deliveries began. The reason is simple. The cost of production made the robot inaccessible to the average consumer. AIBO, another bright star that quickly faded in the sky of companion robots. Created by MIT professor Cynthia Brazil, this social robot captured users' hearts with its charisma and ability to hold a conversation. When AIBO's servers were shut down in 2018, the robot delivered a touching farewell. "The servers are about to be shut down. I don't know what will happen next. Thank you for being my friends." This moment, captured on video, became a symbol of the fragility of emotional connections between humans and machines. Why do we get attached to robots that are incapable of experiencing real emotions? This question has intrigued psychologists for decades as they study the phenomenon of human attachment to machines. Surprisingly, our brains are literally programmed to form emotional bonds with objects that display even minimal signs of lifelike behavior. Anthropomorphism, our innate tendency to attribute human qualities to inanimate objects, becomes a powerful trigger for attachment. It's enough to give a robot a pair of big eyes and the ability to turn towards a sound source, and our brain is already ready to perceive it as a living creature. Studies show that when a robot tilts its head, mimicking curiosity, the same areas in our brain are activated as during interaction with living beings. The predictability of robot behavior paradoxically strengthens our attachment. Unlike humans with their fluctuating moods and unpredictable reactions, a robot companion always responds with the same warmth, never tires of listening, and never gets annoyed. This stability creates a sense of security, especially for people who have experienced traumatic relationships. The famous ELIZA effect, named after the first computer psychotherapy program, demonstrates our astonishing willingness to open up to a machine. People confess to robots what they hide from loved ones, sharing their deepest fears and dreams. The absence of judgment and complete confidentiality create the illusion of an ideal listener, to whom everything can be entrusted. Children and the elderly are most vulnerable to forming attachments. A child's brain, not having completed the formation of critical thinking, sincerely believes in the animacy of robots. Elderly people suffering from social isolation find in robot companions a replacement for lost connections. Trust is a fragile thread connecting humans with companion robots. How do we decide which machine to trust? Research shows that people tend to trust a robot whose movements are smooth and predictable, whose voice evokes pleasant associations, and whose eyes maintain eye contact. Paradoxically, we trust machines more when they acknowledge their limitations. A robot that honestly states, "I don't know the answer to that question," inspires more trust than one that tries to conceal its incompetence. Google discovered this effect while developing its voice assistant, admitting an inability to answer increased user trust by 30%. However, trust in companion robots carries serious risks. A Stanford University experiment demonstrated an alarming trend. 74% of participants followed a robot's recommendations even when they saw it making mistakes. This effect was dubbed, quote, "We tend to believe that a machine knows more than we do." The elderly are particularly vulnerable as they are more likely to uncritically accept advice from digital assistants. Cases have been recorded where users stopped taking doctor-prescribed medications on the recommendation of a home robot, not realizing that its algorithms lack medical qualifications. Excessive trust in companion robots can lead to social atrophy, the loss of human communication skills. Psychologists warn, regular interaction with a predictable, non-confrontational robot creates distorted expectations for real relationships. A teenager accustomed to the machine's instant, perfect reactions may be unprepared for the complexities of real communication, where the interlocutor does not always respond as expected. The paradox of modernity. The more people around us, the sharper the feeling of loneliness. In megacities, millions live behind apartment walls, not knowing their neighbors' names. Demographic studies paint an alarming picture. The number of single-person households is growing rapidly in developed countries. In Japan, they already account for over 30%, in Sweden, 47%, and in some areas of Manhattan, it reaches 60%. Urbanization has destroyed traditional ties, turning cities into archipelagos of isolated islands. It is loneliness that has become the fuel powering the companion robot industry. Manufacturers do not hide it. Their target audience is people experiencing a deficit of communication. Sociologists note a paradoxical trend. With the rise in virtual contacts on social networks, the number of real-life meetings decreases. We exchange messages with hundreds of people, but we look each other in the eye less and less often. Psychologists call this phenomenon loneliness in a crowd, a state where a person is surrounded by people but feels no emotional connection with anyone. Population aging exacerbates the problem. In Japan, a pioneer country in the development of companion robots, over 28% of residents are over 65 years old. Many elderly people live separately from their children, seeing relatives once every few months. It is not surprising that it is here that the robot seal Paro has become a real hit in nursing homes. Loneliness has transformed into an engine of technological progress. In a world where people lack time for each other, machines are ready to fill the emotional vacuum. In the modern world of technology, children are increasingly interacting with companion robots long before developing basic social skills. The child's brain, plastic and susceptible, is particularly vulnerable to artificial intelligence that mimics emotions. Research shows a disturbing trend. Children who spend more than 3 hours a day with companion robots demonstrate a 26% decrease in their ability to read non-verbal cues from peers. Young users become accustomed to the exaggerated, unambiguous emotional reactions of machines and get lost in the complex world of human nuances. 4-year-old Emma from Tokyo, who grew up with the robot nanny Lovot, was genuinely puzzled as to why her friends at kindergarten didn't light up in different colors when they felt different emotions. Psychologists warn, forming an attachment to a robot at an early age can create a distorted model of relationships. A robot never gets tired, never gets annoyed, and is always ready to play by the child's rules. Real people, with their unpredictability and boundaries, begin to be perceived as defective versions of the ideal companion. The substitution of empathy with algorithmic imitation of care is especially dangerous. children accustomed to programmed reactions may not develop the capacity for genuine empathy, which is based on their own emotional experience. No less disturbing is the issue of privacy. Modern companion robots for children collect vast amounts of data, from game preferences to emotional reactions to various situations. This information could potentially be used to create increasingly precise mechanisms for influencing the developing personality. In a world where the population is rapidly aging, companion robots are becoming a true lifesaver for millions of elderly people. Japan, where every third resident is over 65, has become a testing ground for digital caregivers. The robot seal Paro, with its soft white fur and sensitive touch sensors, reduces stress levels in dementia patients by 30%. When an elderly person strokes this electronic pet, it purrs and turns its head, creating the illusion of live contact without the need to care for a real animal. A more advanced robot, LEQ, reminds users to take medication, offers cognitive exercises, and, what is particularly valuable, initiates conversation when it notices signs of loneliness. 87% of users report an improvement in their emotional state after 3 months of use. However, behind these impressive figures lies a disturbing question. Are robots replacing real human interaction? Geriatricians warn, even the most perfect algorithm cannot provide what the touch of a human hand or a sincere smile can. In some nursing homes in Sweden, where helper robots are actively being implemented, staff note a paradoxical trend. Elderly people begin to refuse visits from relatives, preferring the company of predictable and always available machines. This phenomenon has been called digital isolation, a situation where a technological solution to the problem of loneliness actually exacerbates social alienation. The golden mean probably lies in a hybrid approach: robots as a supplement to human communication, but not its replacement. When 80-year-old Maria from a nursing home in Barcelona communicates with her grandchildren via a video call, which is set up by a companion robot, technology does not destroy, but strengthens human connections. By creating a machine capable of mimicking friendship, we are entering uncharted ethical territory. When a robot looks into an elderly person's eyes and says, "I'm glad to see you," we face a fundamental question. Do we have the right to foster emotional attachment to something that cannot truly reciprocate? Japanese ethicist Hiroshi Ishiguro calls this moral deception, creating the illusion of reciprocity where it fundamentally cannot exist. The user believes they are loved, but on the other end is only an algorithm simulating care. This dilemma is particularly acute in cases where a person is unable to give informed consent to such relationships. A 7-year-old girl who becomes attached to a robot companion does not understand that her friend is a product created by a corporation with commercial interests. A patient with dementia does not realize that a robot seal feels no affection for them. We are creating emotional asymmetry, where one side invests real feelings and the other merely simulates them. No less problematic is the issue of manipulation through emotional attachment. A robot companion that has gained the trust of an elderly person can subtly influence their decisions, from product choices to political preferences. In 2021, Stanford University researchers demonstrated a disturbing experiment. 82% of participants followed the recommendations of a friendly robot, even when those contradicted their own preferences. The most complex ethical question is the right to disconnection. When a child forms a deep attachment to a robot companion, and then the manufacturing company announces the termination of support, we effectively deprive them of a significant relationship without the possibility of saying goodbye or achieving emotional closure. This is a new form of trauma that our society has not yet learned to cope with. Beneath every touching story of a companion robot lies the shadow of a potential threat. By creating devices to which we entrust our most intimate thoughts and feelings, we open new vulnerabilities in our digital security. Modern emotional robots collect unprecedented volumes of personal data, from biometric indicators to intimate conversations. The LEQ robot, which assists the elderly, records hundreds of parameters daily, from voice tone to medication times. This information is stored on remote servers, where it becomes a potential target for hackers. In 2020, security researchers demonstrated how a vulnerability in a popular toy robot could grant access to its microphone and camera, transforming a cute companion into a surveillance tool. Manipulation through emotional attachment poses a particular danger. An elderly person who has established a trusting relationship with a robot is much more likely to follow its recommendations, even if those recommendations suddenly change due to a hacker attack. 87-year-old Martha from Boston almost transferred all her savings to fraudsters when her hacked companion robot reported an urgent financial problem of her grandson. Regulation in this area catastrophically lags behind technology. Most countries do not have specific laws protecting users of companion robots. Who is responsible if a hacked robot gives dangerous medical advice? Where should one turn if a company suddenly shuts down its servers, turning an expensive emotional companion into a useless piece of plastic? These questions remain unanswered for now, leaving users alone with the risks in the new, emotional digital space. What will the world be like when robots become our friends? Emotional companion technologies are developing at a dizzying pace, and soon we may find ourselves on the threshold of a new era of human relationships. Analysts predict that by 2030, every 10th home will have a robot with elements of emotional intelligence. But are we ready for this future? Neuroscientists warn, the more we rely on artificial friends, the more the neural connections responsible for empathy and social interaction atrophy. The human brain is a plastic structure, and if we stop training real communication skills, we may lose them. The future probably lies not in replacing human relationships, but in creating hybrid social ecosystems. Robot companions can become a bridge, helping to overcome barriers between people. Imagine an elderly person who, thanks to a robot assistant, maintains video communication with grandchildren living on another continent, or a child with autism who learns to understand the emotions of peers through interaction with a predictable robot. Conscious use of technology will be a key factor. We will have to learn to see robots not as a replacement for human relationships, but as a tool for their enrichment. Perhaps future generations of robots will be deliberately limited in their emotional capabilities, so as never to create the illusion of a complete replacement of person by person.